Okay, so what we're gonna be doing today is we are going to be doing a lab where we do a bunch of chemical reactions. Kind of super cool. In your textbook, you can find, or your packet, you can find on page 16, but on 17, you're gonna see all the instructions. So I want you guys to all turn to that. Now, we are literally gonna follow the instructions as it goes through. Now, before we do something, I'm gonna jump ahead. One of the things we're gonna do is we're gonna create a water bath. And in order to do that, you're gonna take your hot plate out, you're gonna plug it in, it's not plugged in right now, and you're gonna take a beaker and fill it about 2/3 or half full of water. I want you to do this at the very beginning because water does not boil instantly. So, and where I'm keeping it right now is the worst place possible. So I probably put it on the edge of your table so it's not in the way of everything. And I would turn the heat button on. There's a heat and a stirring button. You turn the stirring button on and it's gonna do nothing in terms of heating it up. You're gonna turn it all the way up to 10 and you're gonna try and get this to boil. Now once it's boiled, you're gonna kind of adjust the temperature, it's just simmering, and that's called a water bath. Now why are we doing that? Well, if I were to take a test tube right now, and I were to set it down like this hot plate can get up to 500 degrees Celsius. So I'd heat the bottom of this to 500, whereas water can only go up to 100. So if I take this and we have test tube clamps, can you look in the top drawer right there? Second drawer actually, there should be looks like a small, that's not a test tube clamp. It's like a little squeezy thing, it's about this long. You can push it in and out. There it is, thank you. So you're gonna use this and you're gonna clamp it onto this when you come to this step of heating it, and you're gonna set it down into this so it's in the water. Not touching the bottom because then you're heating it to 400, whereas here you can only heat it up to 100. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so now let's talk about what we're gonna do. So this is gonna be set up at the very beginning. Everyone okay with that? Now, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually follow the instructions, and it says take a Sharpie and a ruler. You have both these things in here, and you're gonna measure off centimeter increments on here. And that's where you're gonna put the stuff. So the first step, it says take this and put to the first line, put copper 2 sulfate. So you have to read the labels here. This is copper 2 sulfate. You can zoom in on that if you need to. Copper 2 sulfate, that's gonna go up to the first line. Then you're gonna take sodium hydroxide, that's NaOH, and you're gonna fill up to the second line. Now, when that happens, there's gonna be a reaction that occurs. So there's two places where you're gonna mark what happens. So if you take a look at the last page of the lab, you're gonna see a data table. So if you take a look at the data table, it actually has all of the things that you're gonna be mixing together. Now, on one spot it says precipitate, and the other one says supernate. Precipitate's a fancy way of saying solid. Supernate is a fancy way of saying liquid. So when you mix these two together, you're gonna describe what the solid looks like and what the liquid looks like. Now, when I say solid, you're not gonna see like a piece of metal appear. It might be like cloudiness, or powder, or crystal, or jelly-like, or whatever. That's what you're gonna describe in here, and the color. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your stirring rod and you are going to stir it in here, and then what it looks like, you're gonna go back to your previous page. You see how after each procedure it has an observation? So in this part of your lab, you're gonna write after you've stirred. This part is when you've done it before you've stirred. Got it? So what you're gonna do is, you're gonna be kind of following this along in steps. So you're gonna put the two of them together, you're gonna make your observation, you're gonna stir it up, you're gonna make an observation, and then you're gonna take it, and hopefully by that time your water bath is boiling, and you're gonna take it in here and you're gonna put it into here. Now, if you're lucky, the reaction will be almost instantaneous. And you'll see a color change and it'll be super cool, but you may not have that happen. So what you do then is you take this, and remember, you just had a previous chemical on this, right? So you need to wash this and dry this off. And you're gonna stick it into here while it's in the water, and you're gonna stir it around. And that should cause the chemicals to mix up. Now, I will say this, if you have it instantly turn, that's great. Keep it in there for like 30 seconds or so, and then you can put it back into here, or you can put it into and by the way, when you set this in here, it kind of sets in there by itself. That's where you should be doing everything. So when you're pouring the stuff in, I don't want you holding it in your hand and doing droppers. Keep it in here and put the dropper in, yeah? You can let it sit here and it'll cool off pretty quickly, or you can put it into a water bath. I mean, don't pour it in the water bath, but sit into a cool water bath and it'll cool it off. The other thing I want to point out to you is this. When you are using these, right? This right here has chemical in it, right? If you're like smushing it around on the inside of this, it's gonna contaminate. So what you might wanna do is rest your elbow and then put drops so it goes directly down to the bottom, yeah? So what's gonna be cool, and I'm just gonna keep on going through this really quickly, is once you have this up to the second line, you've heated it up, you're gonna see a color change. If you don't see a color change, that's fine. You're gonna notice some speckling in there. The lab will still work well, you just need to describe it. Then you're gonna take hydrochloric acid. That's this stuff right here. And this is the mean stuff. And your job is going to be this. You're going to have a whole bunch of like powdery, solid, whatever stuff in there. You're going to try and dissolve it all with this hydrochloric acid. So you're going to put squeeze out and then go whoosh, and put like one of the full little pipettes or whatever they're called here, droppers, into here. And then what you're going to do again after you've already cleaned this is you're going to stir it. Now stirring it is not going to make it dissolve. It just makes things come in contact. The HCl is going to do the dissolving. So your job is going to be this. Even though you have 3 marks, you're going to go past most likely the 3rd mark, adding HCl in. That's the last thing you're going to do. And you're going to keep on doing it until it's completely clear. No specks, no powder in there. Can I get ahead, Bob? So when we do this, you'll spray it, spray it, stir, until you see, like if you have a few specks on the bottom, you're fine. Once you've done that, now it's time to put in your aluminum metal. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your piece of aluminum in here, and you're going to let it sit. This is the only time you don't do stirring or anything. Now, if you take a look at the packet, at the very end of the packet, it says, or at the very end, it says aluminum plus copper 2 sulfate and aluminum plus hydrochloric acid. So there's 2 reactions that are going on. Let me tell you this. See what it says aluminum plus hydrochloric acid? One of the things is marked out. What you're going to see are bubbles. Describe the bubbles in this space. The aluminum plus copper chloride, that's what's going to be happening on the piece of metal. You're going to describe it in there. Also, I want to point out to you here, do you see how it says products in this space right here? If you look back on the previous page, after each procedure, it tells you what the products are. So instead of having to like do the reactions on your own, you can just look them up here and put them here. Now, once you get done, you're going to wait until no more bubbles appear, and it's going to be super cool. You might want to do this if you have like the time-lapse photography. If you put the piece of metal in there and start the time lapse on it, it's really cool. But once it gets done, you're going to have liquid in here, and you're going to have the piece of metal. So what you're going to do is you're going to pour the liquid down the sink with a lot of water. You're going to take a paper towel, and you're going to kind of fold it up so that you have like it's not directly in your hand. So the liquid's gone from here, and you're going to tap it out so that you get the thing to slide out and not onto the floor like I just did right there. And you're going to have the copper wire now on there that I want you to show me. Yeah? Let's talk about safety. Kind of a big deal here. We're dealing with hydrochloric acid, right? And sodium hydroxide. Those are strong chemicals. So if you get something on you, what do you always do? You immediately wash off. Mr. Bergman and myself, both of us, when we were preparing stuff, we got a little bit on ourselves. We put it immediately under water, wash it off. Your goggles do not leave your eyes today. Got it? Those of you who are watching right now, do not remove these because you cannot fix this. There's no do-overs if you get hydrochloric acid on your eyes or face. If you do happen to get something in your eyes, I mean, let's just hope it's not that. You go to the eye wash station, so over there, you push the handle down, you hold your eyes open, and you irrigate. Yeah? Same thing, the hot plate, this gets up to 500 degrees Celsius. You touch it, you're gonna get burned. Similarly, if you take this off and you set it down here, immediately after being on the hot plate, it's still gonna look as though it's cool. Hot glassware and cold glassware looks the same. So treat everything as if it's hot. Don't grab it immediately afterwards because you're gonna get burned. You get burned, hand under cold water. If you break stuff, which may or may not have happened last class period, let me know immediately, and I get to grumpily come by and determine whether or not you were being a clown, in which case I punish you, or something legitimately happened. Keep stuff away from the edge of the table like I'm doing right now. That helps you a lot. Also, when you're pouring stuff, if this is open, your hand is holding it. You never set it down with it open, nor do you do the salt shaker trick where you just leave it on top. Also, if you're pouring, you are not doing this, and this happened last class. I had a student that was doing this. Any problem with this right now with how close my eyes are to the HCl? Mm-hmm. Problematic, right? So don't be foolish. Other than that, if you have any questions or anything, talk to your instructor. Thanks so much. Have a fun lab.